Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast from your host, Imperial Dane, Master Propaganda Hero, Strike Defender of the Fatherland. We're off here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Crossroads between the North. We got here Captain Price fighting for the Soviet Union, Socialism, and the 7th Tank Corps West in the South. We got Brosras fighting for the Wehrmacht, Germany, the Oberkommando West fighting in the East. Yes. Taking on the role here of the elite 1st Panzer Division, which has Luftwaffe, elite armoured, and fire shield available to it with double infantry, light infantry gun bulletins versus the Reserve Army, Lend-Lease, and shock rifle. Very sort of meta there. Shock rifle, not so much. There does see a slight combat there. Similar here, but elite armour, not very common at the moment. Fire shield, yeah, actually, these are actually not that common again. It very much is sort of well, Spec Ops and Scavenge with the Oberkommando West still. There's not really been any sort of huge changes there, though. Slightly increasing people use this one and this one, actually. We got Penal Trooper, Sniper, and SU-5 bullets there for Price. We got a Penal Trooper start here for him as well. The Strafniki moving out with SVT-40s clenched tightly in their hands. Fulters moving ahead there. Slightly holding their Car 98Ks. More Penal Troopers on the way there for Price. Double Fultz going to leave with Storm Pioneers there for Brosras as he heads eastwards to secure the territories there for the fatherland. Moves westward with the Fultz Grenadiers here. People moving more towards the centre. The second squad there halfway done for him. Brosras following up with the more Fultz Grenadiers there. Fun fact about the 1st Panzer Division, but during Operation Barbarossa, it was actually surprisingly heavily equipped with armoured half-tracks, and most sort of units at that point would have maybe like a company of half-tracks because they were really rare back then. The 1st Panzer Division actually had several battalions of half-tracks, which even considering, you know, when sort of half-tracks were more common, was actually would have still been incredibly rare because then most Panzer Division would at most have 1 battalion of half-tracks, but the 1st had in 1941 several battalions worth of them, so that actually stands out quite a bit. And it's actually sort of funny, one way you can sort of really tell how a division was elite to an extent was basically, well, look at its half-tracks. Sort of one of the more fun ways of doing it. We got Fultz there versus Penal Troopers here in the east. We got Storm Pioneers securing points there. We got more Strafniki on the way there for Brosras. Not Brosras, with Price. Brosras, those going for more Fultz. So both players here going for some infantry belts. Of course, the Penal Troopers do lock down Fultz quite well if you know how to handle them, since they overall do outpace Fultz Grenadiers, and of course, with a bit of experience, can really then sort of do some heavy damage. In that case, if you're not careful as the Oberkommando West, you can then quickly suffer a heavy manpower bleed versus the CoH. And certainly a player like Price can very quickly sort of try and push an advance against there. They go Fultz called out, nail Penal Troopers opening up there. I think should have actually tried closing in. The Fultz could sort of do more damage. In this case, the Price decides that it's not worth his time. Storm Pioneers moving up, but there we go. We've got to have a big engagement in the centre. We've got a lot of Fultz moving up. Storm Pioneers, but there we go. Also 3 Penal Trooper squads. And he's actually moving up infantry within range. At the same time, he's exposing the Storm Pioneers to the flanking of the squad up here. This is actually pretty grim here. Oh, he couldn't lose a Penal Trooper squad. That's been a manpower down for Price in the... Oh, no! Almost got the Storm Pioneers. Penal Troopers get away, but still, not more troops moving in there. Huge engagement to continue. They'll probably get a circle charge here against the Fultz. There we go. Oh, jeez. Oh! Brosras was too slow. Lost an entire squad. Something got sent into orbit. And a lot of Germans just... Oh, God. I mean... Just tossing a satchel charge can be a surprisingly effective tactic against players who go heavy on Fultz Grenadiers, because at times they'll just struggle to sort of realise what's going on in time. And in that regard, despite it having several seconds as a fuse, there's still some players who will insist it's not fair. But good lord, that was one devil of a satchel charge there, and definitely I think it's really given Price the leader of Brosras. You got Battle Group Headquarters up here. I mean, generally if a player goes for a lot of Fultz Grenadiers, they will go for Battle Group Headquarters. So there are some that are sort of a bit sneaky there, push for Mechanized Regiment anyways, but most players will, if they go for a lot of infantry, go for the Battle Group Headquarters, so they're more properly supported with medics. Engineers falling back here. No doctrine yet though for either player, and either player sort of trying to pull ahead. There maybe some kind of early edge. They got a big push here from Brosras. Storm Pioneers forcibly charging ahead here. I'd probably suggest having the Volksgrenadiers lead, so they're more likely to draw fire instead of the Sturmpioneers, since the Volksgrenadiers are more expendable. In this case, that's not necessarily got a big push into the centre as well here, going for the carve point. Both players having each other rather aggressively. The Volksgrenadiers only won't have much of a fun time in the longer run until, of course, the rest of the troops arrive. Hitting the carve point here, Battle Pit quarter spotted. He could try a satchel charge, but the problem is he's going to need more, otherwise he's just going to be wasting munitions, because it is something Brosras can just sort of, you know, quickly repair up. We got another satchel charge here. This time, I imagine Brosras will be a bit sharper on the mark. There we go. No more Germans. Blum to kingdom come. For the next kingdom after that. The kingdom down the lane. The slightly more grimy kingdom. Got medics on the way there for Price to support all of his penal troopers. Still got the unit here. I mean, if he's going for that many penal troopers, you'd rather think he's going to go for Cert Reserve Army, because, I mean, this is going to, you know, work quite well with rapid conscription, for example. Just a lot of conscripts then sort of following up in the wake of all the penal troopers. I mean, that could work out quite well there for Price. Although, of course, I mean, Olson would just go for Lend-Lease. I mean, he could go for that, push out a half-track assault group to then support his penal troopers on the move, reinforce them at the front line. That could also be an idea there for Price. Shock rifle, I don't think would sort of work too well with it, but we'll see here, we'll see. MD-34 following up there for Brosras, and a quick reminder, because someone asked in the comment for yesterday's video, and I think I will mention in the, you know, actual video itself, he was asking for, but generally the MD-34 is not very good at dealing with blobs. It's actually a pretty huge flaw, and I mean, machine guns generally there for stopping blobs, you know, prevent blobbing and punishing it. The problem is the MD-34 is actually pretty bad at it. In fact, if an opponent blobs at you and you go for MD-34s, you'll actually lose because of that. So they should probably look into that. But overall, MD-34's not a good blob counter. They can be used for sort of winning sort of smaller engagements here and there. In that regard, it's a decent support weapon. But it's not very good at stopping blobs. It is not very good at it. Got Sandmax going down in the west, and that's also why I think most Overcommand West players don't really bother with a lot of them. In this case, the Brosras is going for Selman. As long as then Price doesn't, you know, hoard up in one spot, he should have a chance. But in this case, yeah, let's see how that works out. I'm going to be for opening up. Troops to easily avoiding it. As you might notice, there's not really a lot happening here. Most machine guns tend to have some kind of modifier against larger groups, but it seems like the MD-34 either doesn't have one, or it's a really weak one, which really isn't helping Brosras here halt against Prague. Now, of course, he's spreading up. At least that is sort of more tactically sensible, you know, instead of just, you know, clocking it all down one avenue. He's actually trying to be ahead. But let's go. Second infantry sitting up there. So now we've got two machine guns sort of hosting the area there, slopping satchel charges at the battle group headquarters, sending grenades off. Penal troops flanking the MD-34 here. The MD-34 just can't cover it. Almost got the MD-34 there. White penal troops running here by all of the machine guns. So there we go. Brosras putting up a formidable defense in service of the fatherland, holding back the Russians. Ach, that was close, Ludwig. Yeah, if only we had more. Well, we actually did have more machine guns. I'm not sure what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a stress, you know, it's a trauma. So the Russians really stinks. What? What's that got to do with anything? Anyways, Pims will then push back, but the MD-34 folks are standing about here, closing in eventually free. Are the MD-34 moving ahead as well? So again, individual targets of smaller groups, the MD-34 can help deal with, but again, two large forces, the MD-34 just sort of struggles. Still, he's got two of them, which will help here. Price, meanwhile, though, moving ahead to the tech line. He does also have here Soviet Reserve Army, so he is going to try and synergize rapid conscription with all the penal troops, and then, of course, just quickly follow up with a lot of conscripts assault packages, and that way really begin sweeping away Brosras here. He's following up with like Caden effort because he's got a pretty good, he's going to hit with some light armor, and that is definitely not a bad suspicion over there by Brosras of the 1st Panzer Division. P-34 sort of set up here. He could operate in at least one of the more aggressive to support troops more sort of aggressively at the front, but looks like he's deciding he does not want to do that. Might be the way, of course, Price operates his own infantry aggressively, and of course could just easily sort of outflank it, which could of course then cost Brosras quite dearly. So we'll have to see, of course, what it is here that's sort of going on there. But Price, I imagine, will go for the T-70 soon. He could, of course, also go for a half-tech to support his troops. I mean, the half-tech really is an excellent support choice for no matter which army can call it in. Doesn't really matter who. If you get a half-tech, and you can really do a lot more with the infantry than you otherwise could. repairing here, and there goes Schwer Panzer Quarter up. It's going to basically set up sort of the normal sort of battle group headquarters and Schwer Panzer headquarters sort of forward setup there. Price pushing back in the west there, securing points, and he's actually not going for a T-70. He's going for the Mechanized Armor Campania Rush. That's actually a bit interesting to know. Again, some players do this, others do not. It can be sort of a bit, you know, depending on how you feel like you're doing, but it's not a bad idea for sure. And if you can sort of pull it off reasonably well, you can do a lot of damage to your opponents. And the T-3476 can be quite a threat for infantry to deal with. It can, of course, also do a lot of damage. So we'll have to see how this works out for Price, but he's actually not too far off being able to follow up with the T-3476 fast against Brosras, who's only now going to have a kidnap to really deal with it. You can't even get a Panzer strike on the Stormtiger, you know, can't do it. And there you go, rapid conscription up, quickly filling out the ranks there with fresh conscripts. The Soviets were known for basically just, you know, as they advanced throughout Eastern Europe and liberating, in quotation mark, countries, of just, you know, just, well, conscripting the local male population to serve in the Red Army, which tends not to always sort of get a lot of talking about. The Soviet Army was actually having severe manpower issues by 1944-45. So that's a little fun fact there, for those that aren't quite aware. Folks there getting shot to bits by the penal troopers. They'll soon be sort of filling up there with the conscripts. Won't take long. There we go. First conscript arrives. In fact, we'll just finish this engagement first before I go into that detail. But it actually involves penal troopers to an extent. Well, penal stuff. MD-34 Spawn Force again. Sort of hold up here behind the heavy cover in this case. I think he's just trying to maximize the rapid conscription here a bit. Get another conscript out. There we go. Retreats. And gets out of there. More troops arriving here. Penal troopers, engineers, and the first conscript squad. You should definitely think from some submachine guns there to help those the enemy troops. Engineers being suppressed, penal troopers as well. Rushing straight up. And this is Sturm Pioneers, which have actually 2 ones. This is really where he would have wanted, you know, submachine guns to the conscript. That way, you know, deal with the Sturm Pioneers quite nicely. Quick incendiary grenade there. And there we go, conscript sort of essentially pushed back. But what I was trying to say before sort of decided that was actually pretty bad timing was this manpower was in that by 1945 stuff that would normally, you know, gotten you shot or sent to a gulag, you know, would actually just, you know, get you sent back into the front line. So for some stuff like actually, you know, getting captured by them, which initially was, you know, pretty much a death sentence, or, you know, deserting and so on there, would generally just, you know, get, you know, back in the front line, in which case we saw some Germans repeatedly capturing the same unfortunate bastard, who would then of course just be sent back at the Germans again. So, you know, I mean, the Russians were actually beginning to have manpower issues as the war progressed. Again, you know, that's generally not really talked about a lot, but they were actually sort of noticeable. And in fact, by 1945, so storming Berlin, a lot of the Soviet divisions, pretty much all of them, were notably under strength according to what they were supposed to be on paper. But MD-12 being pushed back here on the west side. Penals was advancing. Got the T-3476 arriving for Price. So we got 4 penal trooper squads and 2 conscripts. Though, interesting enough, no submachine guns yet there for Price. I mean, again, normally you just quickly fill up the submachine guns on the conscripts. That way you just have more offensive firepower. But there you go. We got a Panzer fight here for Brosras and the 1st Panzer Division. Pinned machine gun there being added as well. Penals that are being slaughtered by the Panzerkampfwagen 4, T-3476 coming up the eastern side. Another rapid conscription here for Price, pretty much immediately here versus Brosras, who does not miss a beat, which of course might be why I didn't go for the submachine gun, because I didn't want, you know, to lose a beat on that one. T-34 pushed back by the Kedneffer. Constantly about him, we got anti-tank grenades up. That might also be another reason he just wants to have munitions clear for anti-tank grenades. Need to get rid of that like Kedneffer for the first T-34 to move a bit more freely against the Panzer IV, and of course he's going to need support for the T-34 to deal with the Panzer IV, since the Panzer IV model J, they will overall have the upper hand versus the T-3476. In the Sturm Pioneers forces versus engineers. More conscripts there running for Price and the 7th Tank Corps, supported by a motorized rifle battalion here. Panzer 4, they're opening up. T-34-76 moving in. Very low on health there. Price is pushing his luck a bit there with the T-34-76. Could risk losing it if he's not careful. So T-34 is going to need some repairs. Of course, with all the conscripts, it can quickly fix it up alongside the engineers. So there's certainly an option there for Price. Overall, he's keeping up pressure versus Brosras, but on the other hand, he's actually been neglecting the victory points to an extent, maybe been focused too much in the centre rather than the resource in the east, which has actually been quite helpful for Brosras. Brosras, and then has been able to think a bit more agile, strategically and tactically, and actually been able to push more into Price's territory there. So in some ways, while Price is doing well, on other levels, he's not quite as strong as he'd hoped to be, because again, he's been focusing too much in the centre and rather been neglecting victory points and fuel points there, which of course is what allows Brosras out to Panzer 4 up at the same time Price gets up the T-34-76. Partly because again Brosras then has been actively harassing Price's fuel. Going for what then the Fud's going to at least attempting it, and looks like he's going to pull it off here. Panzer 4 arriving, shoots and hits a huge amount of wrecked cars. Following up with more Sturm Pioneers and another MG-34. Probably responding again to Price's sort of heavy infantry tactics. More specifically, sort of blob-ish tactics. The counter the Sturm Pioneers just goes for the MG-34. Orbital will not be a bad choice, but then so would a Doctrine also not be a bad choice for Brosras. I mean, he's got several options here, though which one would sort of be the best here? I mean, in theory, Stormtiger would actually be a pretty good counter, because again, big rocket, a lot of dead Russians, because again, if Price insists on blobbing up, the Stormtiger will be able to punish that. Plus, I mean, it basically boosts his Panzer 4 with heat rounds. Gives an active signal relay, so he has an intelligence edge over the enemy tanks. Emergency repairs, though, is still no good, and Panzer Commander still needs an improvement there to the artillery barrage, at least something more on the level of the American Major. Troops are pressed pinned down here with MG-34, Panzer 4 rolling back. Price can soon go for another T-34-76, of course. He could also consider the H-5 to help deal with a Panzer 4 here. Could do so. Conscript penalties moving towards the centre. Veterans 1 gain for both tanks here. T-34 firing away there. And an MG-34 spotted it. Oh dear. There we go. Gets a kill on the gun before he can fire off anything. And they're getting flanked as well. Satchel charge off. Feels that's a bit of waste. There we go. Cancels it. And there we go. We got the Stormtiger out here. Also known as the Sturm Mercer for Brosras. Based on the Tiger chassis. First utilised during the Warsaw Uprising. It was basically meant for smashing really fortified positions and other houses. There we go. Wipes an entire penalty score there with a single devastating rocket. They could also knock out tanks if they could actually hit them. I think they happened doing some of the fighting in the Ruhr district. I believe some Sherman tanks got evaporated by the Stormtiger. Ooh, mine stops their flank. Very good job there for Brosras. Again, mines win wars, in particular when they can stop, huge infantry assault. More or less on their own. But there you go. Price actually putting more effort into cutting off his opponent's fuel. If only done so soon, I think he'd been in a stronger position here versus Brosras. But again, Price neglecting harassment here has rather allowed Brosras sort of think slightly gain some edges here and there. Of course, he's got the Stormtiger almost reloaded. Shot fired. Bounced. The Panzer 4 on the hand did not bounce off the T-34-76's armour. And at this stage, with the Stormtiger and the Panzer 4, he should definitely consider an H-5 first to have a better chance of penetrating either and knocking out either. And of course, Brosras might also want to consider using heat rounds on his Panzer 4 to just increase the damage with the T-34-76 and any other armour. Push into the south. Got the Kuhns with their push back. And harassing Price's fuel point again. Fixing up the T-34-76. Stormtiger setting out. Constant they're pushing against the full gunners in the west, sending them running an MD-34 up here. But again, just a huge swarm of Russian infantry. The single MD-34 has no chance against this. No chance. Stormtiger though turning about here to deal with it. And then turns about as it realises he needs to get out of it. There's just too many Russians. It's a big sweep there from Price through the west side there, pushing back Brosras for now until he can set up a more stabilised front. And that way really begin hitting back at the Russians. His Panzer IV, by the way, very close to Veteran 2 there and increased accuracy, which is always beneficial. So reinforcing. And there we go, Veteran 2 going for the Panzer Kampfwagen. We've got the Sturmtiger movement as well. They're looking for prey, for a target to explode. In East Asia, 5 dealing with Volkskas, T-34 also good to go. The Council's run off. He's interesting enough not upgrading himself. He's got a lot now. He's also got plenty of resources and he can go for rapid conscription. He went to get, say, upgrade these some of the consoles there. So I mean, there's not really much of an excuse for Price not to at least get, say, 2 submachine gun packages at the very least. And he could easily, in fact, go for 3 of them and still have munitions left for rapid conscription. So I do think he should at least get some of them out there to just further pressure Brosras' infantry, because a lot of conscripts with submachine guns is actually a big problem for Volkskanadiers and Sturm Pioneers, and of course then also long term mean a problem for Brosras as a Kettenwerfer and for that matter his armour. Price continues here to float munitions versus Brosras and the 1st Panzer Division. D-34 that takes a shot bounces, and there you go, HD5 penetrates easily. Anti-tank parts arriving in support as well. There we go, damage engine halfway to death. Simpson pushing ahead here for the centre. Troops standing back doing nothing. Looks like just too much here for Price to handle. I mean, he's still got about 7 infantry squads plus the anti-tank parties and the armor now to match. We've got the issue 5 T-12 second ahead here. Pimps there. Almost crushed by the Sturmtiger. T-Fed forming ahead. HU-5 there. Oh, Sturmtiger shoots and gets the HU-5 Panzer IV, though does go down here. But he lost the HU-5 tank destroyer to the Sturmtiger. Quite a loss in the west there. We got Volkswagen constantly fighting there, and we even had signal relays. We can see that Brosras is really trying to maximise his intelligence advantage over Price, meaning very clear there's no chance of any armour surprising him from an unexpected angle. And wrecking the MD-34, trying to deny it there to Brosras. We've got the Kenner moving up. There we go, got it knocked out. Big push into the west here once he removes a lot of infantry there. A Kenner from the farm needs to pull back that T-34 to 6. Pull it back, Price, pull it back. Almost got the MD-34, but he's going to lose it. Too late there, too late. Betty too high rate of fire. There we go, the T-34 6 goes down. It was close there for Price, it was close, but he was rather pushing his luck as overall statistically things were not on his side. We got rapid conscription going off again. He's actually lost another penal troop squad. There's a nice force increasingly large composed of conscripts, yet he is not upgrading them, which is definitely not good. In the meanwhile, Brosras following up with some more hardened Obersoldaten. Constant fighting in the west, penal troops are in there as well. Constant taking losses. Fresh squad there arriving. Having now about 5 of them, though that might quickly change down to just 4 of them again. And more signal relay. We can actually see a Brosras is all of a sudden going very heavily on it, which certainly indicates he's actually very worried about Price's armor. I mean, generally I don't see many players using it in the first place, but then all of a sudden you get Brosras who's using it consistently, in fact a lot there, so he's clearly worried about what Price's tanks can do to him. In this case though, Price has got no more armor left since it rather got knocked during that engagement. It's actually nice to see someone using it just because, again, it's there. It can actually be helpful, and they're clearly worried. You might want to save up for a Panther 4, then it could also might even be better off saving up for a Panther. Fighting on the west here. Constance pushing ahead. Still no submachine guns for him, though. I do feel like that is a bit of a mistake there by Price. I mean, he's got plenty of munitions, so I don't really feel like there's much of an excuse not to commit to a lot of submachines, since again it would just allow him to sweep away a lot of Brosras' infantry and his support weapons much more easily. The PPSH-41 upgrade for the conscripts is a very strong upgrade. Got the Pumas coming up behind here. Puts you wipe there actually. Ooh, another loss there for Brosras. Activate shot and infantry. He's going for another Panzer IV there. Stormtiger moving about. You should have to salvage that Panzer IV wreckage for a bit of extra fuel. Would not be a bad idea there for Brosras and the 1st Panzer Division. Mein Gott, Jürgen says no Panzer support there left. The Arse Panzers, but wir Sturmpanzers. That's not a proper Panzer. Ja, you tell that to the Russians with the Führer. He won't listen. Crash the wreck there. More engineers for price to support his armour. He's got now 5 counter supports again. Getting better at hitting the eastern resources. Also now got some more firm control of the map here against Brosras. And Stormtiger wipes another conscript there. He's getting pretty decent value out of that Stormtiger. He's getting pretty decent value. He's also close to having the Nafalvertigungswaffe there ready, which is an anti-tank or anti-infantry weapon mounted on some tanks. Little fun detail there. I'm not entirely sure how many tanks this were mounted on what sort of type. I know, for example, they mounted an S-mine launcher on the Tiger tanks, at least the early ones, and there's apparently some attempts of mounting on some other tanks, though apparently that one never went beyond sort of the Tiger tanks. But there you go again. He's finally getting some submachines. You can see the deck's doing a lot of damage, so the question is really, why did Price not go for a ton of submachine guns when he could earlier? I mean, generally, that is part of the strategy. You know, you go for a lot of penal troopers, use rapid conscription, challenge a lot of conscripts supporting the penal troopers, and then you go for a lot of submachine guns. So, bit of an odd choice there for Price, really, not to go for it until it's so late into the game. I mean, it could have, I think, a much bigger impact versus Brosras. Had he just been much faster in getting out a lot of submachine guns. There you go, 2nd Panzer IV for Brosras. Could go here for the Panzer Commander for a bit of extra range and the likes. Obviously, it's not going to be able to use the artillery because it's pretty much rubbish. But again, in theory, the Panzer Commander could allow him to spot better. And there you go, another signal relay. In fact, it wasn't uncommon for the Germans to be able to listen in on the radio communication of the enemy sort of close by. In fact, it happened in several cases for different areas. For example, during Normandy, there were numerous cases of that. In part, also because in one case, the Americans drove the radio communication straight into the arms of the Germans, who then proceeded to use it against the Americans. There you go, almost got the HG5 there, but he gets away, damaging in the Panzer IV. Almost lost the Panzer IV. That'd be a big loss there for Brosras to lose his Panzerkampfwagen 4. And HG5 misses. That was an extremely close miss there. That was definitely bad luck for Price. Panzer IV barely survives. Of course, he could try and rush in the T-34 to deal with it. He can also soon go for another one. But also here pushing up the west, MD-34 supporting a lone full Grenadier squad, not upgraded and not veteran. And all of a sudden here, victims of the T-34-76 as it charges forwards. Machine guns blazing away there. It's going to go try and go there for the Panzer IV. We got the Stormtiger there. Still got plenty of time before it's done reloading. And can I get the Panzer IV there? Oh, misses. And there we go. Got the Panzer IV. Bit of a loss there for Brosras. And the West Pumas was here suppressed by the MD-34. Full going to be supporting. Not suppressing, but nearly supporting. HG5 good to go again. A lot of conscripts. And still, he's got a lot of missiles floating, and he still isn't going for a bunch of submachine guns. Another thing Price also could have considered earlier throughout the fight, in fact, throughout the entire fight, is mines. Regular mines, of course, the flare trip mines. So, not fully efficient, I would say, in terms of strategy there for Price. Certainly some gaps. Certainly some gaps. Got the Stormtiger moving ahead. mean-spirited metal box that can spit out some really big rockets. Straight to the H-35 there. Oh, he's going to try and knock it out there. Shoots and... not a good rocket there for once for Brosras. They just get Veteran access to the Nachvertigungswaffe. Nachverteidigungswaffe. Not Nachverteidigung, but Nachverteidigungswaffe. Reloading again. But not a lot of victory points left there for Price. Not a lot of victory points left. But he is going for more submachine guns now. They does feel a bit late. They does feel a bit late. Reinforcement. Brosras, I think at this point really should consider just a Panther. I mean, more armor, more health, better range, more durability, and can also then actually work with the Panzer Commander just be able to use that range effectively. I mean, set up the Panther with the Panzer Commander in it so you can use it for range. You could actually do pretty well. Oh, snap! Orbital done, wiped in a single shot there by the T-34 76. Huge loss there for Brosras and the 1st Panzer Division. Another T-34 they're arming for Price. Another MD-34. It's actually going to have 4 MD-34s there. That's actually pretty rare for an Oberkommanderist player, but I suppose just all the infantry Price has is forcing me into them. I mean, he's got 5 infantry squads plus the tanks. Obviously, the MD-34 can only think against tanks, but there's certain aspects of the other things. Damaged engine there, these sort of stunned engine. They shoot 5 Vetchi, 2 bar. We got T-34s flanking in there. Stopped here by quite a dense minefield. He doesn't know this there, but had he tried to push the issue, he would have lost the tank. Another rapid conscription. I can have a crew though. Wipe, but they've lost there. Oh, lost the veteran 4 Sturmparties. That's a big loss there for Brosras. Lost 2 veteran 4 units. Oh, that is a big loss for Brosras. This is a big opportunity for Price to actually wear it. Brosras not going for the Panther, but going for the Jagdpanzer. Also, a lot of his armor needs repairs, so he can't quite push the advantage yet. Still, those are some pretty big losses there for Brosras. Some veteran Sturmpanzers and a veteran Academy of a crew. It's not something so easily overcome. Meanwhile, Price going for another T-34. Bring up as many tanks as possible is definitely a pretty good idea. Cancels the Jagdpanzer, then actually does go for the Panther there, the Panzer Kampfwagen 5. Sandbags help defend the centre. You can see Brosras going to begin to feel the pressure there again, having lost a lot of experienced troops. In fact, he's only got a single veteran 5 units left, whereas Price actually does have several veteran units left, showing a lot more than what Brosras has. I mean, the only sort of real luck for Brosras is partly, again, Price is more active in these, but also he hasn't upgraded more of his conscripts with submachine guns, despite having a lot of ammunition still floating about. And also in this case, it feels like he's actually wasting it by using rapid conscription during a period of inactivity. Holy moly! That's the first! He took out 2 T-34s with a Stormtiger! Wow! I didn't know that was possible, actually. But he actually did it! He took out... straight into mine, with the minefield paying itself off their line. The Panthers certainly engaged the Russians at a much more comfortable level. Again, he could add the Panzer Commander just to make it even more comfortable, because you could then safely engage at max range, knowing you could see that from. That is a massive loss there for Price in terms of armor. I mean, he just lost 3 T-34s in a matter of seconds. I mean, don't bunch up your tanks against Stormtigers, clearly. But honestly, again, I haven't seen that ever happen before, and I don't think most players have, so I mean, to an extent you wouldn't think it happens, but clearly it does. Also, Price finally going for deep flanking on the east side. I'm surprised he hasn't been doing that more. And it feels like he's been a bit too late than sort of getting in sort of aggressively versus his opponent. We actually got heat bombs here in the Panther. The problem is actually got extended here with no infantry support. God damn it, taking on the knock out the anti-tank partners. Plus the veteran 85 crew there, about to knock it out, and there you go. Lost the Panther as well. That was less good. There were Brosras. Less good. That was dangerous. Again, you should let the Panther command up, and you should make, again, just had infantry about to support it. Actually needs more infantry in the first place. I mean, he's only got 2 infantry squads versus an awful lot of conscripts and some penal troopers. So, I mean, more infantry support, they really would have done the Panther a lot of good. Plus, of course, the Panzer commander. In which case, I think could have stood a much better chance here. Maybe he might not have thrown into engagement where it could be, knocked out. The only H really, I mean, the Series H is got now is basically a victory point because, again, in part, Price has just been too focused on this point, which he hasn't been able to secure. Not so much here, and of course, he's been completely ignoring this for the larger part of the map. So in that regard, that's really been sort of, I think, Price's big issue. He's just been suffering from tunnel vision, which has certainly made things a lot easier for Brosras, in part because, again, he hasn't had to worry too much about his fuel. More rapid conscription lost the squad. At this point, I don't think Price particularly cares, though. MG34, they're right, but again, machine guns are suppressed. You know, I mean, the rest of the units are just moving about there easily, again, slowly only now getting suppressed here. Again, see, there's still a squad moving about, and only now does it get suppressed. So, I mean, in that regard, the MG34 is not a very good blob count. It can do it, but as you might notice, it isn't very good. Had this been, say, an American blob with BARs, for example, that's pretty much a death sentence, though, since again, the BARs have much better range and can be fired on the move. So, I mean, there are some things that you can be mind of. Got the filters moving ahead, though. T70 now for Price. There's clearly a bit of desperation there when he's going for the T70. All of a sudden, over the T34s and A6s. A bit of pressure there on Price.
We are losing territory.
Penal troops constantly moving up here. More troops moving out there as well. T70 almost done there for Price and the 7th Tank Corps. Brosras does need to be more careful with his armour. At times, he does seem to occasionally, I think, make some rather poor calls with it. Also, he should try and flank more with his tanks. He's not very good at flanking with his tanks, which is certainly only helping Price deal with it. Also, more sort of flank attempts in the east. Good, but again, also late. It's much too late there for Price to really get it. Again, it just feels like more like desperation. Like, he's not very much used to this. And Brosras still has like 3 MG34s left. And he's at 4 MG34s. I mean, that's not exactly common. Then again, neither is a virtually 2 Stormtiger in a 1 versus 1 match. Nor is knocking out 2 T-34s with a single rocket. Three points left there for Price. He's desperately hanging on. It. Troops being pinned down. Volker's moving ahead here. Closing in on virtually 4 on the MG34. Comes to there getting murdered. Annihilated. Casualties piling up for Price, but doesn't care. He will take the points no matter the cost. No matter the sacrifice of his men. $85, they're almost knocked up. You got the Stormtiger moving ahead. Gonna try and fire rocket. There you go. Country moving it as well. Now they're into tank grenade there. He's been getting like Kedneff. Oh, he might lose Station 5 until like Kedneff. He's going to lose it. Ah! Oh! He lost it. Anti-tank pattern called up. They immediately get pinned here by the Schwerpanzer quarters that close range. They're about to get wiped. 1 victory point left for Price. 1 victory point left. Kedneff recruit again. Gets the T70. It certainly seems like, again, Price... It seems like doesn't know how to handle all of these conscripts very well. He's actually struggling under the weight of rapid conscription. I think it's sort of putting a bit of a load there on his management skills to an extent, which is making it easier there for Brosras to deal with it. Another use of that one there, signal relay. That's practically a record. That, of course, then knocking out 2 T-34s with 1 Stormtiger. Unit wiped. Obliterated, evaporated. Cynic grenades going off. Anti-tank plants going after the Stormtiger aimed at the spare panzer called as covering. A desperate defence of the centre victory point. Again, a one he just has to pour resources in because he can't afford to lose it. And again, it also means this western one is actually quite an easy target for Brosras if Brosras were to realise it. Brosras himself is actually also bleeding out now. He's getting too obsessed about it as well there. So, I mean, in a sense, if Brosras can pull through with his pig-headedness, he could win this. But if his pig-headedness just results in him just wasting resources, he would actually lose this, with Price winning this then with only one victory point. I mean, he's not got a lot of units left. He's lost machine guns, infantry, like kidnappers, numerous tanks. I mean, the casualties on both sides to an extent have been staggering now. Of course, the Russian player has suffered a lot more. I mean, sort of, again, we're looking at closing in on 300 there, but again, Brosras has suffered a lot himself. Almost got the MD-34 that Pim's was pushing ahead. Heavy machine gun fire again. Desperate defense. Insane defense there for Price. Do not worry, comrades. You will all be heroes in defense of Central Victory Point. What about the other one? There is no other one. Also, you're gone. That Stormtiger. That Stormtiger. I mean, Brosras has got barely anything left, but thanks to Price's obsession with Centre Victory Point, neither does Price anymore. Also, that Stormtiger. That Stormtiger has really been a huge asset there for Brosras. That Stormtiger. I think it's safe to say he would have lost that match. At least it would have lost by now. I mean, he could still in theory lose it, but it's looking increasingly unlikely. It's looking increasingly unlikely. But it is, I mean, pretty close. I mean, it's, one of those tipping point moments. But as long as he has that Stormtiger, it's not going to happen. But he's going to win now because he's got the victory point prize against not focused on the Eastern one. And there we go. GG, game over. A loss there for Price, the 7th Tank Corps. A victory for Brosras, the 1st Panzer Division, and really big rockets. That Stormtiger there was definitely MVP, knocking out a lot of critical squads, but also getting 2 T-34s with a single rocket. That was really just outstanding. Price and doing extent well, but again the issue was just he was too focused around this point tunnel vision. He forgot about this time. Point 11 times lying his point just kept a lot of victory points, slowly bleeding up Price, but also just getting a lot of fuel safe as Brosras actually was able to sort of harass Price repeatedly. So some issues there in terms of how he played the map there for Price. I mean, his strategy to an extent was good, but there's just issues with it. Also just a lot of conscripts, but no submachine guns. He'd gone for a lot more submachine guns early on. I think it also got a lot more versus Brosras. Brosras could have done with more infantry more sort of early on, and his armor usage does need to be better. But overall, he made better use of his things, and overall just had a bit better, clearer view of the map, which I think allowed him to win there. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this match. Hope you learned something from it. If you did, why not subscribe to the friends, share it with everyone. And if you like what I do, do consider supporting it with Patreon or PayPal. Links in the video description. That's what helped me out a lot. Pays for food and rent, and how we like food. At least I do. So do consider it. This is Imperial Lane signing off. See you all tomorrow for another signing episode. Cheers.